Hi again. I want to show you three types of walnuts here. This is a Thomas variety, a cultivar black walnut. This is a native black walnut. These are from Nebraska. And these are a hickory cultivar, and they're also from Nebraska. I want to show you how that I want to show you first how the cultivar black walnuts crack, and I want to give you a close-up of those meats, and we'll look real close at them. Then we'll crack the black walnuts, we'll look closely at those, and then we'll crack the hickories and look closely at those. Starting first with the Thomas variety, and these are from the Sorensen farm in Waterloo, Nebraska. Got approximately 20 pounds of nuts here. Like I said, these are a cultivar. These are a cultivar black walnut, and they have larger meats than a native black walnuts. The retainer is much less. There's very few retainer. In fact, I would say maybe 1% retainer that are left in the shell of the cultivar Thomas variety. There are quite a few varieties. There's over 30 varieties that they have produced in Nebraska. And then we're going to go now to the native black walnuts, and these are the meats that have come from the cultivar variety. And I'll let you look one more time at these, at the retainer, and you can see here that there's just virtually no retainer in these nuts. These nuts separate out, they crack out, they shell out, and as you can see, there's just really no retainer to speak of. Now we'll go on to the native black walnuts next. Now these are the native black walnuts of Nebraska, given to me at the Nebraska Nut Growers Association and at the Northern Nut Growers Association show, and here we go. As you can see, these nuts are smaller, but again, if you look closely, the retainer is still very little. Okay, I'm just picking out some of the meats here so you can get an idea of the difference between, you're going to get 35% meats on the Thomas variety, meat compared to shell, and on the natives, you're going to wind up getting in meats about 5% is going to be meat, 5 and maybe 10%, and the rest is going to be shell, because natives do not produce the amount of meat and they're not as large as the cultivar black walnuts. Now, once in a while you do get somewhat of a freak and you get a larger piece of meat, but as you can see, these meats are much smaller. Like I say, once in a while you might get a freakish situation going on there, but just so you can see that you're just not going to get as many meats. It's going to take a lot more work to find the amounts of meats. Now we're going to move on to the hickories, and again I want you folks to understand that it's the variety that you grow, and in your area, if you're raising or you're collecting the native black walnuts, the shells are extremely valuable. They're used in they're used as the medium in hand washing solutions. So now let's go ahead and crack. Let's go ahead now and we'll crack the hickory nuts in Nebraska. Okay, the hickory nuts that are grown in Nebraska, these cultivar hickories, they're a larger nut than a normal hickory, and the pieces, the flavor's wonderful, and we do get some very large pieces out of this, but you can see that the retainer in a hickory, and it's just the nature of the beast, the retainer in the hickory is a little higher than the black walnuts grown, but with a little bit of work and time, you can get all the meats from those shells. They're a wonderful tasting nut. They're worth the work. So I want to thank you again. This is all I've got to show you for today, but I wanted you mainly to see the process taking place by the patented nut cracking chamber. I wanted you also to see the drive, the speed reducer that we're using to drive this machine, the massive shaft that we're using, the 1 horse to 2 horse motors that we're using, the thermal protected switch here that protects the machine. I wanted you to see the thrust bearing that we're using. We're making sure that this machine, when it's constructed, it is built out of heavy steel so that it can take the impact of those black walnuts and any nut, and that is the design of the machine. And want to thank you again for all the time that you've taken to view our YouTube channel, and God bless you again, and it's time for you to get a hold of one of these machines so that you can get cracking.